Today's passage is about the one who is prepared for evangelism. Let us pray. Father God, thank you for your grace and your grace, and as a scattered ones in many forms. But one day you want us to gather together here in this place, and we are thankful for this place. And in your perfect plan, in your perfect ability that we believe in it. And please work on us, and please fill us with the Holy Spirit. And with my lips, I want to speak about your words. I'm praying for the senior pastor who is doing his missions in the Central and South America. And if there are some people sick or weak, then please heal them today with your words, with your peace, and all the church members will praise you. Please receive our praises and worship, Lord. I pray in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen. It's been a long time to stand here. I am worried about something whenever I stand up here. Actually, it is kind of difficult for me to follow after all the 62 strategies. And whenever I come up, and my health condition is not actually helping me. So as all the assistant pastors are doing this work really well, so I want them to stand here, but the opportunity was given to me, and I'm really glad to see you again here. And what I want to say today is it's difficult for me to follow after all the messages, comments, and the methods. And also, whenever I organize the PP messages, it's also difficult for me to organize this and try to pick one thing up for the message. So I thought to myself, like I had a past, and I need to share my story with them. Briefly share my story. And until now, I was always confirming that the grace, the God's sovereignty. And my church and I, we just grab hold of the God's covenant slightly, then we face a lot of changes in my church. An old frame and new frame. It comes to old frame and new frame. And the new frame is refers to the gospel, and old frame is about myself. And the new frame is about the life after salvation. But there are so many words that I need to talk to you today. For this church and for you today, I always say that that's God's sovereignty, and I also have capacity, like I can deal with 300 people in this church. If more than 300 people is difficult for me to handle. And I just pray that God, that's enough for me. Later, I just heard about the gospel 다락방 movement, and it seemed to be prepared that all the evangelists were prepared, like 100 people. As far as I know, that I had 700 or 800 people, and the pastor Shin told me that we have more than 700 or 800 people in this church. Then later on, I didn't have enough time. Also, actually, I didn't have enough time to say that about this new frame and the old frame. And we have this campaign about 다락방 movement. We need to renew this 다락방 movement, but people don't have the minds. They don't have any thought and minds in this. And the 다락방 movement, there are so many women. And they are kind of having this 1 or 2 다락방 meetings because they are busy. They cannot do more than 2. And they are busy with a lot of house chores and taking care of the family. And we said that we need to start 다락방 movement now, and it's a kind of important thing. We just faced this 다락방 movement when we have just only 300 people, and later 500 people, and we changed our frame. And the old frame was like the ministry before the 다락방 movement, and later with more than 500 people in Songyeon Church, and the Songyeon Church cannot accommodate this more than 500, and they just came to church earlier. If they don't come to church earlier, then they couldn't get in the church. So they just got up early in the morning, and if they are a little bit late, then they need to stand outside the church. And the elders soon just made a preparation committee to construct a new building. And when I had a mind that I need to build up the new church, then I had thought like we need to gather some money. But as soon as we had a thought that we need to build up the new church, then we just found this land. It's like 50 years, it's been 50 years now, and you made this, not me. And I felt very shameful about this construction. But when it comes to building up the Songyeon Church, then I had no idea about how to construct a building, and I had experience to put the tiles on the wall. It was my first time to do this construction work. And while doing this, then I had thought that I changed myself, and spiritually in me, I had also used to have the old frame. That's where for me it's like I was very quick-tempered, and it's like with my wife, it's like we are not getting along well because we have different background and different characteristics, and everyone has its own his or her own characteristics and personalities, and they have different background, of course, so that's why they are different. And I'm from Daegu, and my wife from Jinju. We have a different taste of in rice food, and we have different taste in soups. So we are totally different, and physically and mentally we are different, but we just lived up until now because we just found a new frame. My new frame was God's sovereignty. That was my new frame at the time. And the theological schools, we learned a lot of this sovereignty of God. But absolutely, we grab hold of this God's absolute sovereignty when I received the messages from Pastor Yu Gang-soo. And the moment I grab hold of this God's spiritually. And the spiritual change in me was like it's about my character. I have some sort of depressions. It's about the panics and all the depressions, all sorts of depressions. And of course, there are so many. I think almost all of you have this kind of depressions. It's different. Depends on how serious it is. But almost everyone has this kind of sickness. I'm very quick-tempered. I'm very nervous all the time. And I was kind of picky. And I always tidy up my table and my desk. And before I just mentioned this, I used to put the book straight in place, in the right place, and I always organize my books on the shelves, and I could find the books because they are always in the place where it is supposed to be. And with these characters, I also was suffering from myself, and I always, in my usual life, I always nervous and very quick, going somewhere. And I was very sensitive that I couldn't sleep outside. And I've been to the United States a couple of times, and I could stay there for a month, and I couldn't sleep there. And on the plane, I need to stay there like 15 hours. For 15 hours, I couldn't blink my eyes even a sec. So I couldn't sleep on the plane. And I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't eat anything on the plane. And I also used to have the 3 meals a day, but I also couldn't enjoy the food on the plane. And it was really difficult time for me. And I was always nervous and sensitive about waiting for something. And traveling was really difficult, extremely difficult for me, because I need to wait a lot. But with God's sovereignty, the moment I started believing in God's sovereignty, and being quick-tempered disappeared. Because I realized that God is doing my work. And looking back my past, like when I was late for some appointments, then if I have an appointment, then I need to prepare earlier than, and I'll always giving trouble or difficult time to my family members. But with God's sovereignty, I don't come to church that early like I used to do in the past, because I believe in God's sovereignty. And in the past, it's like when I started the service, and some people sneak into the main hall, but they were kind of they were worried about being rebuked by me because they were sneaked into this room. But they don't have to. They can just stand and sit up straight, even though they are late. And God is doing my work. God is doing everything. That's God's sovereignty. Of course, if you are late, then you can say that I'm late. I'm sorry. Then that's it. That was really blessing that I found this God's sovereignty. And have a peace, like greetings. We usually say have a peace. And peace is really important, because I didn't used to have this peace. if you are quick-tempered, then you don't have any peace in your heart. But upon receiving God's sovereignty, then I started enjoying this God's sovereignty. And if you are very competitive, it's driving you crazy. Always you need to beat over others. Then I realized this fact that I need to have this peace and God's sovereignty, and I started breathing with this peaceful heart, and I enjoyed this blessing that I will try to share these messages with others too. As you know well, I've never had this kind of service and messages without this background of God's sovereignty and peace, God's sovereignty, and within God's plan. Until now, we've been doing this, and we've been examining that God is working with us and working for us. It's not done by our own efforts, it's not done by our abilities, but God is doing this. And God is doing this for this world evangelism. Regardless of your abilities and the capacities, if you don't know about this God's sovereignty and with your own efforts you want to do something, then you will be giving a lot of troubles to your family and people around you. And think about this example. Children come home and they try to find mommy first instead of daddy. And when you come to church, then you must find God first. And you must find God's guidance first. God is with us, and God is always with us. And when you look at your mom's face, then you have peace. And you must believe this, that God is with us all the time. Then you must believe this, then you will have true peace in your heart. And don't think about your ability and your capacities and your competitiveness, and they are not the matters. But you must think about the backgrounds of God's sovereignty, and where does it come from? All this background comes from the prayers. If you don't pray, then you start having this laziness and corruption. And you're talking about these prayers and 24 hours a day, and with this, then you can have this background of God's sovereignty, and you can stay and you can live within the prayers. It's not that difficult for you to stay within these prayers, and while you are studying and you are working and while you are traveling, then you can stay within the prayers. And still, it is difficult for me to pray and breathe at the same time, but of course it is it should be done, but still for me it's kind of difficult. And it's naturally coming out that God is handling my life, and I have a peace whenever I meet people. And within this peace, and wherever you go and whatever you do, then you will experience God's kingdom, which is very important in your life. God's kingdom established in your life, then we don't have anything to say about this. And it's not a matter of the success in the world, because God is always with us 24 hours a day. And we have no choice but to triumph in our life because God is with us. And you will start enjoying this deep peace flowing into your heart and into your life. And it's so precious that even people before death, they can enjoy this peace. And I said to my son that even you face difficulties and you must enjoy this. If you are sad, and you must be thankful for this, because you believe in God's sovereignty. And whether you are sad, whether you are in pains, God promised that all the triumph in your life under any circumstances. And it is very moment you must grab hold of this, that God is not calling this prominent or the people with ability. God has his own timetable. And I also I was away from the church for about a month. Then I stayed there. Even there was no problem with my children and with my church. Of course, the children must be taken care of by their parents, but within prayers, it's about not the love done by the parents or people, but done by the prayers for the next generations. And don't be worried about your children's bad grades. It's okay for them to have good grades or bad grades. And then children might be very glad to hear this, but they are, as long as they are staying with God's sovereignty, then it doesn't really matter if it's working well or not. And according to God's time schedule, there were very few people in America, so I didn't travel a lot. But in Korea, from Seoul to Yeosu, I traveled a lot every week. But it didn't give me that special blessings because I traveled and worked a lot. But while doing so, and one day, I found that I had some problems, serious problems with my heart. I was staying in a hotel and I felt uneasy, and I just sensed that there was something wrong with my heart. And then, since then, I've had the serious problems in my health. But nowadays, it's getting much better than before. And I'm getting younger and younger as time goes by. And so I'm going to be a child someday then. And I traveled, I visited so many places, but at one point, I just knocked down. And some bad thoughts come after me, and like I can't do this, and I could have died without this thought, without this God's sovereignty. And I just fell down completely. And I said to God that I did a lot of things, I did everything, but please take my life. And because all the pains in my body was so painful. And my ability is just up to this. And I'm giving a lot of trouble to my family members, and please take my life here now. Then I was really boastful about my life. Then it was God's plan and God's sovereignty that God is doing this, not me. And God is not pleased with when you are worried about something, because that's not yours. If you are worried about your children and God is not pleased with this, and they are always nervous to grabbing hold of all the worries and problems. But as a child of God, children were given to you temporarily while living on this earth. And these children were presented to us and given to us, and I will give this story that I had a son and he was about to die at the time. Then I said that if you have no reason to live on this earth, then please you need to ask God to take your life. And but as a parent, it shouldn't be said like this. As a parent, you shouldn't say that to your children. But I was believing God's sovereignty. My son was given to me, and it's temporarily I was taking care of my son. So if God takes his life, then let him do this. Then was a conference. Then I was about to give the benedictions, and I was one day I said to the audience, and the audience was looking at me like some lot of wonders, but he's okay now and is still alive, and he is studying abroad until now in the States. And God is doing this. God is taking care of my son's life. And it's not mine, and all the backgrounds are from God. God is accomplishing this. And when I started my missions in church, and I had my lips swollen, a lot of sores because of worries about church members. And I realized that I don't need to worry about the churches. And whenever I take a phone call late at night, then I was really worried about something, because always bad news are coming late at night. Good news are coming early in the morning. So until now, it was kind of imprinted in my heart that whenever I got a phone call late at night, still I don't feel that good. Don't call me late at night. And you must call. Please call me in the morning or during the day. And whether it is early or late, that's within God's sovereignty. If you know the facts early or late, it doesn't really matter. God is with us. God is always doing His work with us. And this message was, I just grabbed hold of this message slightly, and I'm still here. I could have gone to the heaven, and when I see the young people going to heaven, then I thought to myself, like, I need to be taken by God instead of the young people. And I said to my wife then, and she said that you have special reason to live here. She is always saying this. You have a special reason to live here. You must stay here for your children and for the next generations. He just made up this sentence, but it's within God's sovereignty whether you go to heaven early or late. And one female deacon had a really great meal, and he slept, and he went to heaven the next day. And I thought that it was really peaceful experience that he went to heaven overnight. And the fact that you are going to have the last breath, and it's really it must be very painful. But it's also within God's sovereignty whether God takes your life right away, or you need to endure some sort of pains. Then You just pray whether you are doing some work, missions for the evangelism or not. That's God's sovereignty to save the nations or people. And if people are not doing these missions and still they are the same. Still, if you are doing this or not, still we are saving 237 nations. And you do not, therefore do not be boastful about what you are doing now. And don't be discouraged with the Starbucks movement because it's not working well. One day if you grab hold of this God's sovereignty, then God will do this. God will take over this. And this very moment, I want to confirm this again, that when you are weak and when you are not strong, God is still the same, and God is with you more than before. Like Paul, he confessed that I'm weak. Even when I'm weak, I'm strong. And Elijah, he was about to ask God to take his life, and 40 days he went to. After 40 days, he arrived at the mountain of Horeb, and he found himself stronger before. And think about the Moses, when he was about to give it up, and he gained strength from the Lord. And my wife said that you said you're always saying that you can do this, and I said this. Okay, it's not working for me, so that's why I said that I can do this. I cannot drive for more than 2 hours. If I go to mountains, then I can drive kind of longer, but I can do this. But the more you grab hold of this God's sovereignty, that changed my mind to when I was about to think that I can do this, but I changed my mind it's not my thought. It's not done by my thoughts. If God says yes, then it can be done for me. Of course, there are the things that we can't do this that can be changed and they can be done by God. Until you finish your life here, you must be bold and you must stay within God's sovereignty. Under any kind of circumstances, you can grab hold of the covenant and you can change your life according to God's will. And I changed my characteristics. It's I'm not so sure about how gentle I am, but I am less picky. And nowadays, I just mess around and I try to. I don't hide my desk nowadays. I put things everywhere, and my wife started nagging me you need to tidy up your table, your desk. So I just changed it up to this. Under God's sovereignty, then if you slightly grab hold of God's covenant, you will change yourself. You always think that you are comparing yourself with others, and you say always saying that you can do this and it's not working for me. Don't say this, because God is with you and God is doing work for you. And there are some people very good looking, there are some people kind of average looking, and you can find some couples with good looking guy with kind of average looking girl, and the good God is doing this work. And if there is a ugly man, then the handsome man can stand out, and vice versa. And even identical twins, they are different. And if you are between you, there's not the same. There's nothing the same, and they look so different, and they look different, and they are different. And God is making this, And even we are trying to make something the same, but still they are different. So God is guiding us to His authority and absolute authority and God's guidance. And God is guiding us to this. And this evangelism, God is preparing, and God is doing His evangelism for the one who is prepared for this evangelism. And if you are saying this, I can do this, then you must change your mind. God is doing this. If God does this, then if you are stopped by God, you can just stay. If God lets you go, then you can go, because it's done by God. And just by saying this, I would try to make a conclusion. I can do anything through who strengthens me. And it was not working because you want to do something with your own efforts, but you must believe in God's existence, and that is your identity. The God's sovereignty is your identity. God doesn't say anything about you can do this or you can't. If God says yes, then don't say anything about other excuses. That you are so boastful about judging something that you can or you can't. You must cast all things, your judgments, onto God. You must put everything, every thought, your life, your entire life onto God. And God will do this. And God is doing, working for you. If you want to do something that is done by your own thoughts, God is doing this. And you must grab hold. Lastly, you must grab hold of this. God is blessing your life with His God's sovereignty, within which you must stay here. Oh, Father God, thank you for your authority and your sovereignty. Want to be living your life and your God's sovereignty and your guidance. Want to be pleased with and filled with your words. I pray in Jesus' holy wonderful name. Amen.